Good Sunday afternoon, everyone. Thanks for tuning in to another Southern Oregon weather weekend update. We'll start with our month-to-date recap and see what kind of temperature pattern we've been experiencing to start the month so far. We'll talk about our 7-day forecast and look at our teleconnections. And then I want to end with some initial ideas about the fall. We'll look at some analogs and then some climatology data. So first, you can see that over the first week of August, we've generally seen this pattern of cooler east, warmer west, although right along the west coast it has been a little cooler than normal, especially over southwest Oregon. And we were expecting this to start August. One of the reasons was that we were in phases 3 and 4 of the MJO during the beginning of August, and that's associated with cooler than normal conditions over our part of the country during this time of year. Another reason is that during the middle and end of July, we saw this big rise in the Southern Oscillation Index. And if you remember our discussion from past videos, a positive SOI is generally associated with cooler than normal conditions over the Pacific Northwest during this time of year. So that was another reason why the first part of August was cooler than normal. However, things are going to change because here at the very end of July, the SOI immediately reversed and dropped quite a bit, nearly 40 points. And so that is a signal for warmer and potentially hot conditions to return. And so remember that the SOI has a lag, and so this doesn't take effect immediately. But if we roll this forward about 18 days, this drop is about to take effect in about a week to 10 days. And so to end this week, we could see some potentially pretty hot temperatures. Triple digits are likely. Another reason why I think it's going to get a lot warmer to end this week is because even though we've been in these cool phases of the MJO, it's forecast to head into these warm phases, phases 8 and 1. And look at the strong positive correlation with heat over the Pacific Northwest for phase 8. These orange colors are warmer than normal, and these blue colors mean that the correlation is very, very strong. So this is a strong indication that we're going to warm things up to end this week. And you can see this on our 500 millibar forecast from the European ensemble. We start out with some of these blue colors, and then we transition to these red colors by the end of the week going into day 10. What that means is that we're going to have some cold fronts pushing through. That'll provide us with some cooler air during the middle of the week, but then during late week, this ridge starts to build, and we could see some hot temperatures. So the Weather Channel's 10-day forecast really reflects all this information well. We have one warm day tomorrow, Monday, where we might break 100 degrees, but then Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, we have some cooler air, and it's only getting into the weekend that we see another attempt at triple digits, and I think that could be very likely, just because we had that strong drop in the SOI, and we're moving into those warm MJO phases. Now, over the summer, it's kind of been a theme that even though we do have conditions that can lead to heat for a while, it's not going to stick around for very long, and that's going to be the case this time as well. And the reason is that the SOI has just continued its roller coaster ride, and even though this drop here is going to give us a couple days of triple-digit temperatures, it's not going to last very long, because here at the end of July and the early part of August, the SOI came right back up again, and so that means that around week 2 or week 3, the last couple weeks of the month, we could see cooler air return. Also, the angular momentum, which is basically a measure of the global jet stream, how strong or weak it is, that's dropping, and that's also a cooler signal. Yeah, we've had some positive anomalies for a little while, but it's forecast to fall again. So even though we do see some days of triple-digit heat to end this week, I think we could cool right back down and end the month of August on a cooler note. Another argument for that is once again the MJO. Yes, it hangs out in phases 8 and 1 for a while. Those are warm phases, but if it continues to progress into phases 3 and 4, those are cooler phases for our area. So I think the month of August is going to be similar to the month of July in that start the month a little bit cool, then we warm up mid-month, and then we end the month on a cooler note as well. Now, I said that I would end with some initial thoughts about the fall. Here are the current sea surface temperature anomalies, so departures from normal. So orange colors are warmer than normal sea surface temperatures, blue colors are cooler than normal. A couple things to notice. First, you can see this warm blob of water just to the north of Hawaii. That's important for our winter time pattern. I won't get into that just now. You can also see our La Nina developing along the equator. You see warmer waters off the eastern seaboard. That tends to pump the southeast ridge up. That's also important for our winter weather. And then you see this negative Indian Ocean dipole pattern. We have warmer waters here to the east and cooler waters to the west. If we look at a couple years that were very similar, we have 2016, and here you can see once again that warm blob north of Hawaii. Notice it's not right off the coast. So it's actually a somewhat cooler signal when combined with this La Nina. You see the warm waters off the east coast, and you see once again the negative Indian Ocean dipole developing here with warmer waters to the west, to the east here, and cooler waters to the west. Another year that was very similar was 2005. Once again, warm waters off the eastern seaboard, this blob north of Hawaii, once again off the west coast, some cooler areas in this ENSO 3.4 region, and then this negative Indian Ocean dipole, warmer east here, cooler west. So because those years were so similar, we have some evidence that this year could turn out to be similar as well. So the sea surface temperature pattern was similar, so it makes sense that the atmospheric pattern and the 500 millibar pattern would be somewhat similar as well. So here is the look that we get for September if we blend those 2 years, 05 and 2016 together. And it's a cooler look with a trough impacting the west and a ridge over the lakes and this ridge offshore. So because that warmer water is centered north of Hawaii and not right along the coast, that tends to pull this ridge farther to the west. And this is kind of a chicken or egg question. Does the ridge contribute to this increased warmer water, or does the warmer water build the ridge downstream? Personally, I think it's kind of a feedback cycle. Whatever your opinion on that issue, there tends to be a correlation between a blob of warm water and a ridge just downstream or over the top of it. So in any case, September is a cooler look. October, though, is an even cooler and wetter look. So there's a good bet that September will have some cooler air, but there's an even stronger bet that October will be cooler and wetter than normal. And if we want to look even farther into the future, all of those features of the sea surface temperature pattern that I showed you point toward a potentially very snowy winter for our part of the country. This blue line here is 2016. This is a snow water equivalent map, so basically how much water is in the snowpack. Generally, when you have a very deep snowpack, obviously there's more water contained in that snow. Although sometimes the snow can be wetter, sometimes it can be drier. Regardless, here you see this green line, that's normal. This purple line was 2016, 2017, so well above normal, deeper snowpack than normal. This brown line up here was 2005, 2006, so an even bigger snow year than 2016-17. So there's some evidence that if these analogs continue to be accurate and we get into this La Nina type pattern, that we could have a pretty snowy winter. Again, that's pretty far into the future and things could change, but I just wanted to throw that out there as we're beginning to see some attempts at winter forecasts on YouTube. Again, lots could change, so take this with a grain of salt, but just wanted to throw that out. So let's recap all of that information. First, for our 7-day forecast, we do have a hot Monday to start the week. and then we see some cooler air midweek, and that's mainly the lingering effects of that positive SOI and those cool MJO phases. But we do warm things up late in the week through day 10. I think triple-digit temperatures are a very likely scenario, and again, that's because the SOI dropped about 18 days ago. That correlates with heat over our part of the country, and we do have the MJO moving into these warm phases, phases 8 and 1. I do think this heat doesn't last for very long, and that a cooler pattern is likely late month. Once again, it's because the SOI has been on this roller coaster ride, and it flipped back positive just a couple days ago. And so if we roll that forward 18 days, that indicates that we could end the month on a cooler note once again. We also have the negative angular momentum and the MJO moving back into these cooler phases. So that means that August, I think, will be similar to July, in that we start a little bit cool, warm up mid-month, and then end a little bit cool. If we roll things forward and look at the fall, we do have our analogs as well as recent climatology. So what's happened over the last decade. Both of these things suggest that September could be a little bit cooler than normal, but October could definitely be cooler and wetter than normal. At least that's the signal we're getting from our analogs at this point. And it even looks like we could be in store for a cooler and wetter than normal winter. Although a lot could change between now and then. That's just the signal we're getting from our analogs right now. So guys, thanks so much for tuning in. Don't forget to set your notifications so you can get to that next weekend update as soon as it appears on YouTube. And please leave a like if you enjoyed the forecast.